right, so the last video we posted was me putting Dan into bed at night. Obviously, he can't move when he's in bed at night, so he does rely on me to move him. I sleep like this with my hair and makeup perfectly done every night. I always look like this, so I just want you to know that. Don't I, honey?
You do.
All right, so we started out, Dan starts out on his side, and he's usually comfortable for a couple of hours. He just wakes me up when he can't stand it anymore, or he can't move, or he needs to move, and then I move him. We go from side to back to side to back, however many times we need to in the middle of the night. We don't go to the other side because it's too hard on his left arm to be hanging. So we use these two positions. I'm going to show you how in the middle of the night, when I'm halfway awake, I move him to his back, and then when we get there, we'll show you how I move him back to his side. And those are really how we manage it at nighttime. The important thing is I do this without turning any lights on. We have one or two good night lights in the room that are not so bright that you can't sleep, because I like it dark, but they're light enough that I don't have to turn the light on to do this. We communicate very little. He grunts, I grunt. We just kind of do it, because if you don't have the light on and you don't talk a lot, it's easier to go back to sleep, is what I find. So it's important, I think, that you do this, especially as a caregiver, so you can go back to sleep as quickly as you can so that you're able to get rested up for the next day. So he's woke me up. Remember, I look this good, and then I'm getting ready to move him to his back. And I'll just kind of walk you through the steps. You can see what I do. First thing I do, he's in this position, I just take this leg and move it off. I put it right here so it's not on the other leg. His knees touching, but I put it here so it's off of his feet. I just take the pillow, put it at the end of the bed, like that. And then what I do is I'm really literally in this position. I pulled the covers back. I try to do it quickly because, of course, his poor circulation, he's cool at night if I don't keep him covered up if I keep him uncovered for very long. I grab his knees and I take him like this, and I just pull him this way a little bit because I need to get him in the center of the bed, because when I lay him back, he's going to go over. I pull him over as far as I can. I kick his hips over. His body's going to roll over like that. I use my leg to move him like this. Then I take his feet down like this. This is not the final position I put in here. Try not to shove his toes into the covers if I can help it, because it will bend his toes back. You can see he's not straight. He's not on the pillow. What I do, depending on how far his shoulder's over, is I probably take his shoulders. I grab this shoulder. I grab the side, so I'm getting good leverage, and I pull him like this. I pull the pillow back under his head like that. He's able to raise his head up. We're still not completely lined up. No one wants to sleep like that. And depending on how far over he is, I just put my hand underneath his cheek, my other hand on the other side of his hip, and I pull him. He's pretty much straight. If he's not, he tells me, but he's pretty much straight. His arms are like this. Then Dan prefers to sleep. If you're not careful, the legs can kind of go like that. I call them frog legs, which is not real comfortable for very long. So I take him and I try to squeeze his knees together, knowing they're not going to stay, but it puts him pretty close. I try to make sure his heels are not touching. With all the fluid in the feet, it can be uncomfortable and it can cause him to sweat or put marks there. And then I make sure his feet are just slightly turned out, like that. Then I pull the covers over him, like this. And if you're not careful, the weight of the covers will bend the toes back. So I just make sure it's loose right here, so there's no weight on his toes. Dan likes to be snuggled with his covers, so I take him, throw him over his face literally, then pull him back down a little bit so his shoulders are covered up. Sometimes I have to adjust his hands. Sometimes he just sleeps like this, but it's whatever he wants to do. But I cover him up like that. Then I pass back out to sleep, hopefully. And we're good. So that's how we move to the back. Now, a couple hours later, whenever he needs to, he wakes me up. I know the routine. We don't even talk. I just have to remember which position he's in so I know what to do. When he's on his back, I have to get out of bed to get him on his side. So I just get out of bed. Again, looking like this. Come around here. Again, I don't turn any lights on. I've kind of got this memorized. We have this down. It's choreographed pretty well. Roll the covers back. Again, moving quickly because he's going to be cold. And I want to get back in bed. And take him, pull his knees up. Try to do it relatively slowly because they've been straight for a couple hours. And I take him and just lay him over on his side. Make sure he's got his left arm up here where it needs to be, because it will hurt him if he rolls on it. He's able to move his arm over a little bit here. Roll him over on his side like this. You can see this is where he is. Again, it's just like when I put him in bed earlier when I started the night. I put my hand under his shoulder, cupping the full shoulder in my hand, and I take my hand right here, depending on what works best, and really right here, and I pull him back. Then I go to his hips, working my way down the body. Then I take this bottom leg, pull it out straight. I kick this leg over. We're not fully positioned yet, but I've got him in a place where I can work with him. Depending on where he is here, I leave him, I pull him back far enough. I make sure the pillow is all the way under his head, because what happens is as the night goes on, you tend to slide down the bed a little bit. So hopefully you have a long enough bed, because his feet will be hanging off the bed in the morning. I hit his hip again, pull him back. I try to straighten this leg out. He prefers to have it, relatively straight like that. Then we're back to getting the body pillow that we used earlier. I put that right there, about right there, so I can lift his leg and put it on here. Again, trying to put it where most of his foot is on the pillow and not hanging off. And then I see if he needs to have his shoulder adjusted. He kind of grunts and says he's okay. I kind of grunt back and say okay. Cover up his foot, again, making sure I don't pull the covers too tight so it doesn't bend his toes. Cover him over his head again like that, 'cause it's just fun to do. And then I pull him back a little bit so he's snug. And that's how we go from back to side. In a couple hours he'll wake up again and I'll just pull him back on his back the same way I did that. We do that every couple hours, every 2 or 3 hours. So 3 to 4 times a night. And that's how we move in bed. And I'm able to go back to sleep pretty quickly. Again, no lights on, not a lot of communication. We've got it figured out. And that's how it works for us.